Welcome to Flashback Recap. I'm Mike,
And I'm Patty, and we watch horror movies from our childhoods.
and see if they still hold up today. Hey,
Hey,
hey, how's it going?
it's going really good. How are you doing?
I'm doing
Oh,
good.
man.
Oh,
Okay. I'm excited for tonight's episode.
me too. Let's get started.
Okay.
Today we are talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, directed by Marcus Nispel, written by Scott Kosar, based on a screenplay by Kim Henkel and Toby Hooper, starring Jessica Biel, Jonathan Tucker, Arlie Emery, and Andrew Bryniarski as Leatherface. Released October 17th, 2003.
And the wiki summary is after picking up a traumatized young hitchhiker, five friends find themselves stalked and hunted by a deformed chainsaw wielding loon and his family of equally psychopathic killers. The flashback fun facts are Baby Boy by Beyonce is the #1 song. Texas Chainsaw is released and becomes the #1 movie, replacing Kill Bill Volume 1. And while still pixelated and blurry, camera phones are starting to become popular in the second half of 2003 as people start to shop for Christmas. The most popular phone of the year was the Nokia 1100 and 1110.
Do you remember those brick phones? And they
I
were
re-
thin, but that's just the square ones with the
I
one tiny screen.
no, I remember. I think that no, I don't. I
Oh,
have no recollection of that.
it was like all the prepaid ones, like when you first had prepaid, they were just the small,
Oh,
like
yes.
the
Yes, I do
purple, they
remember
were gold
that.
or silver, and then the pictures were terrible. Because it was maybe like the height of like two digits on your fingers at, square.
Oh, I do remember that. Once you said prepaid, yeah, it took me back. Yeah, I do remember that.
Oh, the phones were so cool, man.
I had one of those. One of my favorites was it was a slide up phone. I think LG made it, maybe.
Oh,
And it slid and then you got a keyboard when you slid it
oh.
open. That one was super fun. I liked that one a lot. It was super cool. Anyway, back to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So you want to
Yes.
just get right into the rewatch?
Yes, I love
Okay.
John Larroquette. He should do more voiceovers. His for any of these movies that he does, it always does a good job of setting up the atmosphere of a Texas Chainsaw movie.
Oh, and this beginning is so beautifully creepy with like
Mhm.
the black and white footage and then that camera sound. That camera sound lives rent free in my brain. Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So
Uh,
good. So good. And once we get past that, though, I already love the relationships between the five kids. Like they're drinking, they're smoking weed, enjoying life and everything, and just went to get 2 pounds of pot from Mexico. And now they're
as you
driving to
do.
see Leonard. Like exactly as you do in the 70s as a bunch of teenagers. I assume
But
they're teenagers.
see, the thing I don't like, it's kind of like a Y2K 70s style though. It's not like
It is.
real period.
Yeah, it is. It was definitely, I don't know if this was intentional, but I mean, it really resonated with Y2K me at the time, who also loved the 70s because it was a
Right.
nice
There was like a
spin on the
70s
70s.
renaissance in fashion going on at that
Yeah,
time.
yeah, it was good. It was good.
I don't, I don't know why. Like Jessica Biel looked like she just came. She was at home and then she stepped on a set. Then everybody else is like vaguely 70s.
Yeah. Yeah. There's really not much 70s going on there other than what they're driving.
Right. Yeah. Some of like there's no bell bottoms or polyester in it, but everybody else
No.
looks kind of stuck in. I don't know. It was weird. It was a weird.
Yeah,
And
it was.
I
I,
can't think
I
of the
think
word. Yeah.
Pepper,
Yeah.
the girl that they had recently met that was making out with Andy in the back seat, she had like a little 70s vibe going on. I'd say
And
out of
then
any of them, she was more
the
70s
nerd
looking.
guy.
Yeah,
He
more
had like curly, almost like a fro, and then like almost mutton chop sideburns going down. But I mean,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, he was a little bit of a 70s-ish going on. And then the
Yeah.
other guy was just wearing a wife beater and jeans. And then Kemper, I think he was just, I don't know, they all just looked,
He was like cowboyish, which it was,
yeah,
yeah, anything. It wasn't, but
you
but
know.
you're right. It does set up the five main character relationships and conflicts between the five of them very well, that beginning scene.
Yeah, and it's like real immediate too.
Yeah.
Like you immediately get the vibe of who's cool with who and who's dating who and how long they've been together and everything. It works
Yeah.
out well.
And then they pick up a hitchhiker.
They do. They almost hit the girl walking in the road, and she, just when she's walking, she looks super out of it. She looks
Oh
super
yeah.
fucked up.
You could tell she's seen some shit.
Oh, she for sure has. Yeah, that is not somebody I'd probably want to pick up, to be honest with you.
Mm-mm.
I would have just kept
I
driving and called
so
911.
I can't believe that there was a time, and it was like at the end of the 70s, beginning of the 80s, where okay, now we should probably stop. It's not cool to pick up hitchhikers. But before that, my dad talks about how they used to hitchhike all the time. They need to get somewhere.
Yeah, you think it's all like the serial killers that did it in?
Heck, it could have been the movies about serial killers. I don't know if
Could have been
serial
that too,
killers
yeah.
actually happened. Was it this original movie that's like my dad tells stories about hitchhiking and hopping on trains and just calling his parents and say, "Hey, I'm in this town at the end of the line."
That is
And
crazy.
could never do that today because you'd end up dead.
I I'm nervous to give money to homeless people on the side of the road, like when I'm sitting at a red light.
Right. You don't want to
I'm,
roll that window down.
I no, bro, I get in my car and I lock my doors. That is the first thing I do. Yeah, no. Anyway, but they do take her in. She's crying in the back seat, and when she says, "You're going the wrong way," the way she says it also lives rent free in my brain. I feel like there's a lot of parts of this movie that do, now that I think about it. Um, and then there's the thing.
I knew it was coming, but I was still not prepared for that shot, which actually happens after the thing. But,
Hmm.
you know, yeah. Oh, should we?
So I want to tell you something. When I went and saw this in theaters, I was so excited. Like I'd been looking forward to seeing this movie. Okay. And me and my friend, I'm not going to out her, but me and my friend, we go to see it. Now, she wasn't really big into horror movies, but she kind of liked them. And I was like, I mean, it's like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like everybody knows what they're getting into going to see this, right? So we go and we're sitting there and and like everything's kosher until it gets to this part. And she pulls the gun, the girl, not my friend. The
Yeah.
girl pulls the gun, spoiler alert, from her cooter
Yeah.
and then puts it in her mouth and then shoots herself. And literally my friend goes, "Nope," gets up, like does a whole like Michigander thing too, smacks her knees, gets up out of the seat, grabs her bag, and she's like, "I'm gonna wait for you in the car." And she left the theater. So I contemplated for like a millisecond there, like, I mean, I can just let her sit in my car because I really wanted to see this movie, but I didn't. I left with her. And then my
Oh,
coworker ended up the next night. I was bitching to him about it, and he was like, "Oh no, we'll go tonight after work." And so we went and saw it the next night, and I got to see the movie in its entirety. But that scene fucked her up so bad. She straight up got up, left all of her candy,
do
her
I know this
popcorn, her
person?
slushie, no, and
Oh, okay.
walked out of the theater. So, yeah, it's a rough scene. It's a rough
It
scene.
is. So after the scene, the camera is like in the van, and the five friends are all like freaking out and screaming and crying. The
Yes.
camera pulls back, and it pulls back through the hole in her head, and then her head flops back. I
Yes.
love
And then her head flops back, and you just see smoke
smoke coming out of her
billowing
mouth.
out of her mouth. Like, it is such a
Creepy as hell. That's actually my
fantastic.
next note, is the
Dude.
smoke was so cool.
Yes. Like, all of that was just so beautiful. Sounds really awful to use in this situation, but like from
It
a
was
horror
beautifully
movie
macabre.
standpoint,
Yeah, it was
it
great.
was. Oh my gosh. Like, it was just, oh, it was so epic.
And on top, it was so like people. It was kind of exposition, and oh, she's kind of weird, and just all of a sudden, bam! Like it just went from zero to a hole in the head.
Literally, she freaks out and then that's it. And she does the thing. Like it was, oh,
And
crazy.
I find like what happens next. There's a little bit of a lull while each of the characters kind of processes, which is good because as an audience member, I remember I would not, if they had mentioned anything relevant to the plot, I wouldn't have retained it because I
No,
needed to process what the fuck just happened.
exactly. The whole audience needs to process afterwards as
If
well.
you have never seen this, you need to because it's good.
Hmm.
But it will take a while for your jaw to go back up to its normal position because it'll be on the floor.
Even knowing that it's coming, it
Yes.
gets me every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah, every single
We
time.
can't record the face I just made, but it's just like,
Like you're just so
oh,
stunned.
yeah.
Oh, every
Oh,
time. And so then moving past that, they end up, they, meaning yes, the dead girl too, end up at the creepy gas station butcher shop diner thing that is equipped with a creepy lady running it because it's exactly what you have to do in a horror movie. It's the law.
it is. I
Mm-hmm.
love the makeup design here on this. I actually said when you're done, the creepy old lady is a trope in horror, and she may be the
Yep.
creepiest creepy old lady.
Yes.
Outside of the Hills Have Eyes creepy lady,
Yeah.
she's like she's a strong number two in
She,
this one.
yeah.
But
I'm
I
with
love
you.
the makeup design here. She's dirty and her skin is all splotchy and uneven, and it really adds to the this is fucked up vibe of the whole movie.
Okay, but speaking of like her skin and being dirty and sweaty and everything, it was actually at this point in the movie that I realized like they're all so sweaty. Like
Oh,
they're all just like covered in sweat because shortly after this scene they end up getting back into the van and that's a lot of close-ups and like everybody's just covered in sheens of sweat. And then it dawned on me did they have air conditioning back in the 70s?
I don't know, but it is in Texas and it is in summer.
Yeah. So,
They actually name drop a town they were going to see a Leonard Skinner concert.
mhm.
So there are actual, I saw online somewhere where they know exactly what day that this movie takes place on
Oh, that's
because
crazy.
in the year 76 or whatever year that this is supposed to take place in, there was a
Leonard Skinner
Leonard Skinner
concert?
concert in
Stop.
that
That's
town.
crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. But the old lady had told them to meet the sheriff at the old mill to give the report. And so that's why they ended up leaving. Um, and that's where they end up finding the little boy who was so awesomely creepy. I love that kid.
Oh, do you know it's the same actor who played Naomi Watts' kid in the first two Ring movies?
You're so right.
Yeah.
Oh, that kid is so good at being creepy. And like it's funny because his character is like in Texas Chainsaw Massacre versus like Ring and Ring 2. You said Ring, right?
Yeah.
Um, totally different, completely different creepy vibes.
Yeah.
Like I think in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, he's just kind of like, like he's like wild, like grew up with like a pack of wolves for parents, kind of scary. And then obviously in the ring, he's just like a completely different version of scary. Wow, that kid's got some depth.
I think like the fake teeth and the whole look, not that he
Yes.
didn't, but his look added more creepiness to his character in this. And where the Ring, it's his complete lack of any like
Yeah.
empathy or outward emotion for the
Yes.
most part, except for fear, that adds to his creepiness.
Yes.
And August 18th, 1973 is when the first day,
Okay.
I think it takes place the movie ends the next morning. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's August 18th, 73.
Mm-hmm. Okay, can we just talk about the sheriff?
Ugh.
Because, like, I'm sorry, what's that man's name? R. Lee Emery or
Emery.
something? Oh my gosh, like that man. You know, he ad-libbed a bunch of his lines.
Oh, I'm sure he's even when playing a completely vile, evil human being, this man is awesome.
Oh my gosh, like, honestly, like, I'm really wondering what lines were actually ad-libbed because the shit that comes out of that man's mouth,
Oh my
like,
God.
holy shit. Like, it was just, like, after finding out that it was ad-libbed, I, like, needed to watch all of his scenes again just because the stuff that comes out of his mouth is just, like, it's insane.
Can we really before that go back a little bit? Can we talk about
Yeah.
Eric Balfour, who
Yeah.
plays Jessica Biel's boyfriend, Kemper, in
Kemper.
this.
Yeah.
He is really good. He is also, I was looking through to see where do I know him from. Like I knew him from 24. He was in 2 seasons of that, but I knew
Okay.
from something else. He is like one of the youngest guys from that thing, like that I've ever, we always, normally, but
Yeah.
normally you're like older when you're a guy from that thing, but he's been
Mm-hmm.
in like everything.
He has been. He's been in a ton of stuff. Like I can't think of like titles, but I can think of
Right.
like movies and stuff that I've
That's
seen him
what
in, but
makes
I
him a guy from that thing.
yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
So I
great.
know we like to talk about that a lot, and I
We
just wanted
do.
he might be the young and normally you gotta not that you're ugly, but you kind of have to be average looking to be a guy from
Yes.
that
That
thing.
is key.
He might be the best looking guy from that thing that we've seen.
He's a good looking dude.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm,
Uh-huh.
like Wayne Knight Newman from Seinfeld is a guy from that thing. This
Yeah.
guy ain't Wayne Knight.
No. No, he is not.
No.
Well,
So
I don't think Newman's fucking getting Jessica Biel. So
no.
I'm just saying.
I I love that right about now is when 30 minutes into the movie of atmosphere and setup, you have that one big freak out with the passenger. But now one by one, the family it starts to get introduced, and it's like boom, 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 boom.
Mm-hmm.
You got the
Mm-hmm.
sheriff, the creepy legless guys copping a feel, and they all start to overlap each
Yep.
other. But you don't
Mm-hmm.
really realize that it's the family yet either until later.
Right. Yeah, you don't realize that they're all actually connected.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
while the sheriff who that scene that's tough
Let's do it.
wrapping up the girl
In
that was
saran wrap.
yeah around the head, oh that was makes
And
the
then her
kids
body.
help.
He saran wrapped her whole body
Yeah, that
like
was
a cocoon.
because and in the moment you think he's doing it, oh he doesn't have the resources and he's trying to preserve evidence, but then do we need, I mean, this movie's 20 years old. Do we really need a spoiler
No,
alert?
no.
They are cannibals and he's just making sure his dinner stays fresh. That's why he's wrapping it in plastic wrap.
Okay, but also, I don't think it's this movie. Isn't it the original that we actually find out that he's not actually the sheriff, that he killed the sheriff and took
It
his
it
uniform in his
was
car?
in the yeah, it was in the prequel.
Okay. Oh,
Chainsaw Massacre
yes, it was the
Origins in this
prequel.
one. Whether or not in the original one you
Oh,
find I don't remember.
the beginnings?
Yeah, but that one was made
Mm-hmm.
after this one, but it
Correct.
takes place before.
Correct. Okay.
Um but yeah, um so Jessica Biel and her boyfriend they go meet and they try to get a phone and all of a sudden right at the same time that the sheriff is meeting um the people in the van and wrapping up his dinner you meet we get the giant wall of a monster just comes out of nowhere and boom, bashes Kemper's head in.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, game on. The creepiness factor like gets ratcheted up to like 11 on the sheriff scene.
I
And
feel
while
like
all this is happening,
this is like really kind of like the beginning of like
yeah,
the actual horror movie.
yep,
Hmm.
oh, and
So then she leaves. She
yep,
doesn't realize that Kemper has been bashed over the head and dragged. She ends up leaving and to look for Kemper, I believe. She leaves the house thinking that he leaves and
yeah.
meets
Gets him,
back up with her friends and they end up in like this car graveyard looking thing, right? Like there was like multiple vehicles
yeah,
there and they end up finding a jar full of water with a Polaroid in it, and it's the girl, their hitchhiker, the hitchhiker who
yeah.
unalived herself. And then there's also a family photo. I'm sorry, I'm trying to stay like somewhat politically correct here. I can like drop F-bombs, but like I feel like I have to like, say
Oh,
it the right
okay.
way. Anyway,
Oh, do I have to follow those rules?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to. But and then they find like a family photo. And so like there was like a family of five that this woman had been with. And so they're like, well, what happened to the rest of the family? Why were they here?
Right? Oh,
Hmm.
yeah.
And there's a baby.
That's when you notice that the one kind of looks like the sheriff and the one vaguely looks like the uh gas station lady.
Oh, I didn't
That's
notice
what
that. You're right.
yeah,
It did kind
because
of.
it's them. Um
Oh, I don't think it was though.
Yeah, because
Be
that picture is in many different, it's in every single house of the family. That same picture is referenced 3 or 4 times.
Shut the front door.
Yeah, the trailer where the Jessica Biel gets tea
Okay.
in the actual house and in that
It is,
graveyard.
it is, yeah, you're right. It is in that. It's in the camper, but
Yeah, that was the same picture.
okay. Yeah, no, I know it was the same picture, but I guess I just thought that they just took like people's belongings. I didn't make the connection that those were the same people, only because the people in the photo, like the older couple, looked younger. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch that because I've watched this movie like literally a
Yeah, I don't
hundred
think it's
times.
everybody who's in that family. I think it's the sheriff and the gas station lady. That's
Yeah.
who's in that picture. They're really, really young in this
Okay,
picture.
but the baby is the exact same age in the picture as it is when we see it later on in the movie.
Wow.
So, okay, I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna have to do
And I
some
think
digging on
it
this.
is the first movie, it's very explicit that this is a family and they are cannibals, and there is a scene where they all sit around a table and it is explicitly said that they're cannibals. In this movie, it is implied that they are family and they are through that picture. And it is implied that it has never come out and said that they eat people in this movie. And I think that the picture, which is why, is the first clue that all of these people are connected and how they're connected.
See, I took it as that's so funny that you say that because I've never ever interpreted it that way. I mean, I assumed that they were all like family. I figured, that there were clearly connections there that were like hinted at. But the picture, I thought that that was a family that essentially was unfortunate and they drove into this situation, just like our friend group that
I wonder,
also did it,
I
and
wonder
that,
what, I
huh?
wonder what the listeners think. Like,
That's what I want to know.
hit us up in the comments. You can comment on almost anywhere you're downloading this,
Yeah.
um, and let us know what you think. Where are those pictures? Are they family? Were they stolen? Which one of us interpreted this movie the way you did?
I
Let
want
us
to
know.
know because I'm also going to hit up Reddit because like now I want to know. I never took it like that at all. I took it as that was a family that was unfortunate and had driven into the situation and that basically that girl and the baby were the only survivors. And the reason that I thought that again is because the baby in the picture looks almost exactly the same age as the baby when we see it later on in the movie.
Oh,
And
that
so implying that they actually, that girl and that baby have not been there for super long. But I
I
could
thought
be way wrong.
I thought the baby was the baby of the woman who shot herself in the head.
And it absolutely could be, but it looks exactly like the baby in the picture.
Even though I just saw this 2 days ago, I've got to go back and rewatch it.
I know. Okay.
But
Anyway,
let's
well, let's
yeah,
move
so let's
on.
move on.
Yeah, let's do it.
Which because after this, so of course when they realize Kemper didn't go, they got to go back in the creepy house.
Yeah,
Like
we have Andy and Aaron going back this
like
time.
and then they're just following the plot of the first movie. So in 73 was it not a thing that if a house looked creepy, you just kept walking? Like you just knock on any it's literally, which could we talk about the house, how it's not really a house, it's like a cement box that looks like half the house is missing.
Yeah.
I mean uh, uh, it
I wouldn't knock on that door if I was trick or
no,
treating.
I wouldn't have went there in the first place, and I certainly wouldn't have went back. I'd be like, I can get a new boyfriend, let's roll.
I mean, at that point, yeah. Yep.
I, oh
Yeah. And then the big bad shit all ends up happening, right? Because we actually finally get like our first actual Leatherface and chainsaw
Chainsaw,
action.
44 minutes I checked into the movie. Finally a
Yes,
chainsaw.
finally. And so then we have what happens in every fucking horror movie. We have the what, hey, why don't you actually run into the open area where you can actually see where you're going? No, 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 no,
Yeah,
no. I'm gonna run through like the 30 effing bed sheets that are hanging and drying, and I'm gonna run through that instead.
but that was so scary though.
It was
It's
great,
also
but
lifted right out of the original
I
movie.
know it just drives me crazy. The bad
Which
decisions.
which P.S. Did you know that the movie's cinematographer was the same on this movie as the original?
I did.
Oh, Daniel Pearl was his name, and he actually lobbied
Mm-hmm.
for the job.
I did know that
Which
actually.
remind when I said, literally with that, some of the shots. I, if you were doing that, would you make the same movie, or would you try and say, okay, how can I make it, maybe, I don't want
But
to say
if it ain't
better.
broke, don't fix it. You
That's
know?
true.
Like if he knew that it worked the first time, do it again the second time. Just do it a little
Also,
bit better.
if it ain't broke, why you making, why you making another one?
I mean, if you found out that they're already going to be doing it and you enjoyed your experience on the first one, then I don't
That's
know.
true.
I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, so Andy's caught. He takes a
Yeah,
chainsaw to the leg and he gets dragged to the basement and then hung on a hook. And Erin, she gets away and runs back to the van.
of course. Yeah,
I mean,
because they're
where else is
trying to
she gonna
get
go?
away.
Yeah,
And is what's her name still in the back?
Pepper. Oh,
Yeah.
the unalived girl.
No, 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 no. Pepper, the
Oh,
one, the redhead.
yeah, she was still hanging
Yeah,
out there.
yeah. So and they're trying to restart the van, but of course,
Well, and it's just Erin and Pepper and
yeah.
Morgan. And Morgan, he's there too. Well, he was at some
No, he's
point.
in the back of the sheriff's car at
Yeah,
this
he gets.
point.
You're right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
So and then Leatherface, of course, attacks them in a van.
Right.
Which the suspense of that attack, it's from inside the van, from their vantage point, and you never see him. You just see
The
the
chainsaw.
chainsaw come through the top, through the side, and I love it. It's great.
Yeah. It's. Oh man, the tension in that scene is. It really gets your heart pumping, man. It really keeps you on
Hmm.
the edge of your seat for
And
sure.
they get out of the van, and Pepper gets unalived.
Okay, like why does she hobble? Like she gets out of the van and then she literally just kind of like bumbles around for a minute. I mean, I would think I get like the whole like what is it? Fight or flight kind of thing
Uh-huh.
or whatever, and like she just kind of like froze in the moment, didn't know where to go. Probably, adrenaline and all of that, but like fucking run.
You
Like
know
she
what?
just
Actually, this is at first I was like, this thought popped in my head. I was like, that's kind of funny. I should say it. But she's been sitting in that van for at least an hour or two.
yeah.
Her foot was probably asleep.
Okay, I mean,
Like
also though,
realistically.
okay, no, well, there is that, but then also to be fair, before this went down, we actually just kind of like skimmed right over this. Um, it is Aaron, Pepper, and Morgan, and they're all sitting there, and the sheriff comes back for whatever reason, and he
Yeah.
finds a joint or a roach or something, and makes them all get on their bellies and everything, and he's just being a complete dickhead, ends up taking Morgan with him. That's how Morgan ends up in the back of the sheriff car. So, I mean, to be fair, she did get out at that point, but
That's true. But she was
you
also
are right.
scared. You know,
Yes.
that happens a lot.
It does. But anyway, instead of sprinting, she just bumbles around and then she gets a chainsaw to the back.
And then you get your first good look at uh Leatherface in a while,
Yes.
and he's
Yes.
changed his mask.
Yes.
The freak
Yes.
out factor of him having a Kepper mask and the look on
Mm-hmm.
Beale's face, just the combo of those was stomach turning.
Yeah, it's literally his face.
It took a
Literally.
second for you to go,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh, and it was like, it wasn't like a slow-mo turn, but it was like slower than like
yeah.
average speed. And so like he just turns into the light and I mean, it's very clearly Kemper's face stretched over somebody else's
It's
face.
not that long. You can tell that it's also CGI,
Oh yeah.
and not practical effect, which almost every
Right.
other effect in this movie was.
Right.
But it was so just like the body horror element of that was, ugh.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Oh,
And then so somehow we end up with Erin in the camper. She's
uh-huh.
running. She ends up in the camper and she's there with I don't know, two broads and a baby. They give her
Yeah.
tea. She ends up getting knocked out and wakes up in the
Like
big house, the big
the
block
big
house.
house, yeah, and what
Mm-hmm.
would be like a parlor. It looks like a mansion, kind of a sitting room.
Yeah, with her head between what's his face's legs.
Yeah, Sheriff Hoyt.
Yes.
Which the only reason I
Yes.
remember that is because my sister had a Chihuahua whose name was Buddy Hoyt. And so when this movie came out and they're like, oh, is that your name? That's the only reason, is
Oh, that's
because
funny.
Buddy Hoyt.
Yes. Yeah, and I don't even remember what happens at this point.
There's like a weirdly odd, like his pants are off because he got them messy when he was um terrorizing them earlier.
Right.
So Mama is, ironing them and everything. So, but there's like a weird implied uh
Incest?
sexual, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
weirdness going on. But then they call Leatherface in and he takes
Oh,
her
that's
and brings her into the
right.
basement because
Yes,
she was
yes, he
making too much
does.
noise.
Yes, yes. I actually I really like the basement scene because that's when she ends up
Uh-huh.
finding Andy and she tries to save Andy. She ends up having to unalive Andy with a knife too. I think she was going for his heart, but I'm pretty sure she got his diaphragm, but that's neither here nor there. And she finds Morgan.
Yeah.
Finds Morgan sitting in a bathtub.
Ugh.
And like what was it, his mouth or his eyes that are sewn shut? I feel like it
It was his
some
mouth because he didn't.
yeah, that's it. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Yes. And so then the little boy comes along.
And, and helps him escape,
He sure does. He
which
does.
brings the chainsaw back.
It sure does. It sure does. What's actually okay, I love this part. The whole shack bit where
Uh-huh.
they're in like the abandoned
Yeah.
house and everything, and like she's hiding in like I don't even know what that like in between walls or like a what was
Almost
used
like
to be a
weird.
closet or
Yeah, something.
something. That whole bit, and then you get Morgan getting chainsawed in half, and
To
then
save her.
yes,
He's on his last legs anyway,
yes, yes,
and he
he takes one for the
jumps.
team,
He does.
the team of
Oh,
Aaron, because that's
which
basically
seriously,
all that's
when are they
left.
going to learn that all these houses are just filled with the same effed up family, and
You
also
know,
that chainsaws can cut through anything, including a couch. Like,
yeah, yeah.
if
Well,
someone's
this is a
chasing
horror
you with a
movie.
chainsaw, you don't put the couch in front of the door. Oh well, okay, that did work.
And then they're all shocked Pikachu that it didn't
Yeah,
work.
I know.
Oh no, we gotta run through a bunch of bed sheets.
Yeah,
Um,
so when
what
she's hiding inside this little room,
thing?
closet,
Yeah.
whatever, she is covered with rats.
Yes.
And she shoos the rats away and makes a noise. So of course that draws the attention of Leather. She could have, he could have left, if she'd just kept quiet.
Right.
Which I don't know. I would rather be eaten alive by rats than be like chainsaw massacred.
Okay, but here's the deal with that. She wouldn't have been eaten alive. I mean, it's not like it was gonna kill her. She only had to wait probably a couple more minutes and just deal with the rats, and then he would have left, and then she could have scurried on out of there. I
That is
mean,
true.
so I mean, really, it wasn't like it wasn't having to decide between death by chainsaw or death by rat. She just had to grin and bear it for a couple more minutes, and he probably
She
would have taken off.
I actually threw a poll up on our Twitter page, and 100% of the people agreed with you.
Oh, did they?
Yes. I mean, on the one hand, chainsaw, if you got killed with the chainsaw, um, that's like a lot of pain, but it's over quickly. If you get eaten by rats, that's gonna take a while.
It is.
So,
But I'm going
yeah.
to amend that, and I'm going to say she wasn't going to die by being eaten
Yeah, I
alive by
know.
rats
I know. But
anyway.
that just got me. It was like she shooed the rats away, like being, oh, ew, those are gross. I mean, the basement she was in she was covered in guts and blood and,
Oh
intestines, and
gosh,
a little bit
yeah.
of rat ain't gonna kill anybody. But, make sure, people, stupid people in a horror movie.
Seriously. But then this ends up leading to she makes a run for it and she ends up at like a meat packaging facility where there's
Uh-huh.
like all these like carcasses hanging and everything. And I love the transition from like the creepy abandoned house to the essentially abandoned meat packaging facility. Like the whole scene or all of the scenes right there
Uh-huh.
put together, like so fantastic, so tense. It's dark, it's gritty. Oh, it's so good. And at some point she ends up with another wet t-shirt.
Because you gotta.
I mean, you have to, right?
I appreciate it.
Yeah, also she's taking one for the team. But I love that I noticed that she actually shuts doors behind her and like good on her. That's some good final girl shit right there.
But also, he's got like the ultimate key, and unless it's a metal door.
I mean,
You
that is true.
know,
That is
right through it.
true. But like at least she was shutting doors. Most of the time they just run it and they don't there's rules for this
There
kind of
are.
stuff,
Yeah, you
being a
just
final
run.
girl. You keep on running, you shoot them in the head, you shoot them at least twice. You shut doors behind you, you lock the doors when you can. You know what I'm saying? There's rules
Right.
here and they never follow them and she was actually following some and so
And that's
kudos to
why
her.
she's the final girl and Pepper fell down after three
Yeah,
steps.
that
Yeah.
Pepper, I'm sorry, but that's your own fault.
Never, never let your foot fall asleep.
No, that is on you. That is on you. And then she hides in a carcass, and yeah, it's glorious. And then what was she hiding in a locker? At another point?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's hiding in a locker.
And then a possum from earlier in the movie makes
Yeah.
a return. Which have you ever seen a possum up close?
Yes.
Oh, they are scarier
Did
shit.
I tell you I had one that was living under my deck?
We have
We had to physically remove it.
we have one living under our deck, and we're just letting it do its thing.
Oh, really? Oh, ours had an infected arm,
How'd
and
you?
so we could smell it. Oh, it
Oh,
was awful, and it was attracting a bunch of flies and stuff. It was so gross.
ours sets off the rear cameras at like 7:35 every
Well,
when
he's
it
got a
wakes up.
schedule to
Yeah,
maintain.
it's like on time. It's funny.
Anywho, she's
So,
hiding in the locker.
and Leatherface thinks she's hiding in this one locker, opens it up, there's a possum there. She pops out of a one right behind him and has like a meat cleaver right to the shoulder, and she's able to get. She gets in a couple licks.
Yeah,
She
yeah, she
causes
really
him to
does.
get hit by the chainsaw in the leg, chops him, in the show. She gets away.
Chops his whole ass arm off.
Does it? I missed that
Yeah,
part. I
at
just
like the
saw it as,
elbow. Mm-hmm.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he's only got one arm at
I
the
must have
end.
been making a note.
I don't know how you'd miss that because he's missing an
Yeah.
entire arm.
Okay.
Yeah, she
But
does
anyway,
though.
she gets away. Anything else happen before she meets the trucker that when I was making a note?
I don't think so. No, it happens pretty quickly. She ends up finding some dude who's driving a semi who is actually Buddy, what's his face from Friday Night Lights. Love him. And his real name isn't Buddy. That was his name in the show.
Okay.
And and then it's very reminiscent to the hitchhiker scene in the beginning, minus the cooter gun.
Yeah, she does not. He's gonna take her to the sheriff and the opening gas station, and
Mm-hmm.
she's having none of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And well, go on.
She like pulls the wheel and and it's like you crazy. So the trucker gets out and goes to the sheriff, and sheriff shoots that guy. Well, he's dead.
Then comes out to find her, and surprise, she is no longer in the truck.
No, where is she?
She is in the police cruiser, if I remember correctly. That is the
Yup,
vehicle, right?
yup.
Yep. And then bam, 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 bam,
Runs him
takes him
over like
out.
3 or 4 times, and
Oh,
Hoyt's dead now.
yep.
And she got away with the baby
Yes.
somehow.
Surprise, the baby's in the passenger seat, just hanging out, totally chill, not crying.
How'd that happen?
I
Where
have
was
no idea.
did I?
I feel like we
Oh
missed a scene because,
no,
like,
we
all of a sudden
didn't
the
though.
baby.
The
I know
baby
we
was right
didn't.
there. I
I
rewound
know.
it
I'm
because
saying I feel like there's got to be a deleted scene.
right.
Actually, now that I say that, I'm almost positive there's a deleted scene. Like, there's remnants of it in my brain of her going into like the store slash diner or whatever and getting the baby. I'm gonna have to break out my DVD
Okay.
because I'm pretty sure there is.
But there's also one last scare
There is one last scare.
where Leatherface, as she's driving away, thinking she's safe with that baby, he jumps out and gets the side of the car one more, which I thought Leatherface was going to jump out from the back seat, but that's a
Hmm.
different movie.
Yeah, that's a bunch of different movies.
Oh, and then she get right. And she gets away, and we go back to the prelude sheriff's video, and we see the end of it.
Hmm.
Oh, and they realize they didn't really secure the house, and that Leatherface is still in the basement.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and that last shot of Leatherface in the paused 8 millimeter film,
Oh,
that is
so
great.
good. So
So
isn't
freaky.
isn't that the shot that was the cover of like the special
Yeah, I
DVD?
think so. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's all.
Oh, you know what got me about all of that too? Like the very beginning and the very end was the fingernail scratches down the wall,
Yeah,
which you end up seeing at some point. Who was it? Was it Kemper? I can't remember who it was, but like
Andy.
you see it was Andy going down and his fingernails are breaking as he's scratching the
Yeah.
wall, being taken down. Ugh, I
Yeah,
can't
in
do
the
fingernail horror.
beginning, they do two or three, like the scratches, the fingernails, a
Mm-hmm.
nail with hair on it. That was when Aaron fell down, so they point out all of these things, and then one by one you see them happen in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh yeah, this movie,
Fantastic.
I enjoyed it.
I did too. Okay, I'm gonna give you a little bit of trivia real fast.
Hit me with it.
Okay. On his final day of shooting, Eric Balfour stripped down, threw his wardrobe back to the crew, and walked off set only wearing a baseball cap. Footage of his departure is shown in the making of the documentary on the special edition DVD Blu-ray, and I have that, and I don't recall ever seeing that. I feel like that's something you would remember. You know what I
I
mean?
would think.
You would think. On the original or in the original script, the hitchhiker was actually supposed to be 15 or 16 years old. The
Ugh.
filmmakers later decided to change her age to make her about the same age as the principal cast, which I don't think it's ever discussed how old they actually are in this movie. I mean, they're clearly older than 15 or
I
16.
think they're supposed to be like 17, 18, 19. Like it's their,
I was feeling like late teens. Yeah, I could
yeah.
see that. To prepare for his role as Leatherface, Andrew that guy ate a diet
Oh,
of brisket and white bread in order to get his weight to nearly 300 pounds. This is the only time we actually get to see Leatherface's real face. And this movie was banned in Ukraine by the Ministry of Culture. Oh, wait, I got one more. There was a deleted subplot that detailed Erin being pregnant, which was why, when they went to Mexico, she didn't drink the water or smoke the weed, as they talked about in the final cut.
yeah, because yeah, in the beginning of the movie, she's all like looking down at them, so it looks like she can't believe they're partying and she's sober.
Right. Like she's just being kind of like prudish
Hmm.
almost, and judgy. And so, yeah, but it didn't make the cut.
Yeah.
So, do we have any legacy for this?
I think this kind of kicked off a new kind of like mini, what do you, franchise for a minute, because there were
Hmm.
two or three movies that followed this, and it ended with a Texas Chainsaw 3D, which was, I watched it because I have a 3D TV. Not great.
Who's in that one?
Oh, it's the um black-haired girl who finds out that she's Leatherface's
Oh, that's right.
sister.
Oh, I loved that one. Yeah.
But in terms of,
Alexandra,
I
what's
didn't
her
like it.
face?
And then they rebooted it again a couple times. Most
Daddario.
recently,
Alexandra Daddario. Sorry.
okay.
That was going to bug me. Sorry, go ahead.
Uh, uh, I would say this film is part of a legacy that started in 1973 or six,
Yeah.
eight, whenever the movie came out.
Hmm.
So for this movie, I don't know that there is one.
I would agree
Do
with
you
that.
think this movie holds up?
Actually, I have a little tidbit.
Okay.
So to answer your question, yeah, I mean, I don't really see why not. Yeah, I think it holds up today. But this movie actually in like I don't want to say like the horror community as a whole, but maybe like the super fans of Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, this movie is pretty hated. I discovered I was doing just some like poking around on the internet, and I actually found a comment from Reddit from the user ZZ870 that I wanted to read to you because I think that it perfectly like encapsulated why this movie is looked down upon so much so, especially when comparing it to the original.
Okay.
So this person says, my issue in this film delegitimizes, so hard to say, sorry, the original's point. The family started doing this because of warped over time traditions and values that embody the ideology of American politics and rural communities in the 70s. This film just makes them psychos with an explanation for Leatherface, that he's shy, which undermines his role as dimwit son and housewife in the original. It cuts away the incestual family roles outside of actual acts of sex. The parading as a police officer by Hoyt also gucks it all up. These psychos aren't part of an off the damn man, I cannot read for nothing tonight. authoritative structure, but rather masquerading as one to act with impunity. There's a great essay that describes this film as reactionary versus the original's disruptive and progressive story. It doesn't challenge anything about the industrialization of rural communities or agricultural systems, nor does it comment on class or familial values. All it does is suggest that these characters have to leave the psycho family to return to the outside world, not that this family is an actual byproduct of said world. The
Oh,
end. Mm-hmm.
I will say that this, like I was saying, it alludes to a lot of things that the original movie kind of says. And it's also one of the things about the original movie. And I agree with everything you said on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, one of the things that makes the original great is it's gritty
Mm-hmm.
and it's just dirty. Like even the film, and I know it's the difference between shooting on digital and what they were shooting at. But
Right.
this movie just is lit better. It's slicker looking, and
Yeah.
I almost think it's even the violence is much more alluded to and not as graphic
Mm-hmm.
in this one. I kind of it was like a safer version of the movie,
Okay. I agree with that.
but
I
I still
go.
like it.
Oh, see, here's the thing. I love this movie. I do. I'm not a massive Texas Chainsaw Massacre like fan. I
Yeah.
don't, I honestly, there's so many movies from like the original run that I have never watched. Which I know is probably like some sort of like horror fan sin, but, I really do enjoy this movie itself. But when you compare, I feel like you kind of can't really compare it, like even though you should be able to compare it to the original, you kind of can't because like the point of everything is just completely different. There was so much more of a message with the original, where this one, I mean, like, because I mean it's very clear that there was like incest happening, right, in the original, that there were
Uh-huh.
cannibals in the originals, and so much of the stuff here, like, if honestly, if I wouldn't have known that stuff from the original, I wouldn't have thought about Hoyt wrapping the body in saran wrap to preserve his food. I would have just thought that he didn't know what the fuck he was doing and how to get rid of a dead body
Right.
to keep his car clean. So knowing all of that stuff from the original, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, as a whole, in and of itself, I do really enjoy this movie. And I do
Yes,
think it holds up just fine.
it does. Um, we do have some fan comments on one of our previous movies that we watched. Do you want to?
Tell me.
Yes. On our Long Kiss Goodnight episode,
Love that
someone
movie.
on YouTube, Stephanie Page 4334, said that they would like to see Brie Larson play Caitlin later on in future sequels.
Okay, well, me too now.
I think Brie Larson and Gina Davis as like a mother-daughter kick-ass spy team would make a pretty good movie.
Yes, yes. Oh, I'm here for it.
Yeah,
I'm with you, Steph.
we agree.
Yes.
So you can always comment on any of our episodes. Tell us what you think about this. Do you think this movie hangs up? Would you rather get chainsawed or eaten alive by rats? Whatever it is. What do you think of that picture?
Exactly. We like to talk to other people besides each other. So,
I mean, we are entertaining, but we could always use
yeah.
a third.
Yeah, we're always happy for a third. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Hit us up. Let us know what you think about all of the things.
Next, we have our Thanksgiving. I can't believe it's going to be Thanksgiving already. We
I
have our
know.
Thanksgiving episode coming up next.
We do. Oh, I'm excited for this one.
Yes.
It's a new movie for me. I've never seen it.
Oh, it's Thanksgiving is the name of it. It is awesomely bad. You will laugh in a good way and a bad way. It is.
Can't
Oh my
wait.
God, it's great.
All right. Well, then, until then, folks,
Take it easy.
have a good day.
Never miss an episode. Make sure you subscribe to Flashback Recap on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at flashback_recap and Twitter at flashback recap.
Or send us an email. We're flashbackrecappodcast@gmail.com.